voters and be authentic and talk about issues that resonate with people, not these obtuse issues like whether it be like save democracy and so vague. They want actual things that can drive down the cost of price and make life affordable and just speak like a normal American and enter Graham Platner, and so I think he's enjoyed a lot of that success mainly as a Democrat because he doesn't sound like a Democrat and he doesn't look like a Democrat, and I think that says a lot.
Republicans have officially lost the right to talk about moral clarity. What you are about to see is the exact moment CNN's Abby Phillip completely breaks a Republican commentator with a single question on marital fidelity. Watch how he freezes. He has to completely scramble his own logic because he knows if he calls out the Democrats' scandals, he sinks Donald Trump and Ken Paxton in the exact same breath. It is absolute textbook selective outrage. Look at this.
More in American politics, Senate races in Maine and in Texas suggest that voters are willing to overlook what was once seen as disqualifying. We're learning Democrat Graham Platner reportedly shared sexually explicit messages with multiple women in the early days of his marriage. His wife flagged the text to a campaign aide last year as a potential liability for him. Platner has faced significant controversy over a series of offensive online posts that he has since apologized for, and for a tattoo widely recognized as a Nazi symbol that he has since covered up. Meanwhile, in Texas, as Republicans accuse Democratic State Senator James Tallarico of being a vegan, the man Donald Trump is endorsing, Ken Paxton, has faced fraud charges, 16 articles of impeachment accusing him of corruption and bribery and allegations of infidelity. Paxton's criminal charges ended in a pretrial agreement, and he was ultimately acquitted in his impeachment proceedings following a 2-week trial. Joe, let's start with you. You just wrote this about.
Yeah, Joe.
You know all about it.
Yeah, you know about bribery, corruption.
Not you, Joe. The other Joe.
Okay, which one?
That's right. Okay. This one.
Joe, let's go to you, Joe.
You wrote a book called Life of the Party, How the Democrats Lost America's Trust and How They Can Win It Back. What is your take on this Graham Platner situation and the fact that Democrats are doing what I would argue maybe Republicans have been doing since 2016 and just saying, they're shrugging.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, right? And I'll withhold my comments about the Republican Party speaking from the high ground of moral clarity, which I don't believe that they do, considering the candidates that are running this cycle under the Republican banner. But I want to speak specifically to the Democratic Party. And look, because of last cycle and the ones leading up to, I think the bar for entry, the Democratic Party, has been placed so low because we put it there. Democrats right now just want a candidate who can, speak plain English and communicate to voters and be authentic and talk about issues that resonate with people, not, these obtuse issues like whether it be like, save democracy and so vague. They want actual things that can drive down the cost of price and make life affordable and just speak like a normal American and enter Graham Platner, and so I think he's enjoyed a lot of that success mainly as a Democrat because he doesn't sound like a Democrat and he doesn't look like a Democrat, and I think that says a lot about where the party currently is right now.
But is it a good thing or is it a bad thing?
Well,
because when you put the bar low, then anybody can jump over.
It needs a reset. It needs people, though, who can speak normally and not talk down to people and not talk at them or above them, but can communicate with voters, and then can speak to the issues themselves. And again, it's been reset, of course, but we're going through that process right now, considering everything the Democratic Party came through in 2024 with Biden and then Harris.
But I think we have lost the plot on authenticity. I think Graham Platner is cosplaying working class. He wears it like a Halloween costume, and that has been placed on him by the same people who have run a lot of progressive candidates across the nation. In this pursuit of getting to know the everyman, we keep picking these people who I think show the worst parts of society. If I am to believe that Graham Platner can relate to everyday Americans, then that means I am to believe that everyday Americans are okay with Nazi tattoos because they get them accidentally when they're drunk, or because they served in the military. They have very regressive views on race and on gender. I just cannot accept the fact that to gain the working class, we have to dress up people who show the lowest of our values.
It does speak to how hungry Democrats are for new blood, though.
Then give them a real anti-establishment people.
Governor Janet Mills is a very credible person. Governor Janet Mills is very credible, and she lost because people want new blood and new leadership.
This is just
Also
Joe's
someone
point,
under
right?
50.
Voters have a say in this. And if you look at the numbers, Graham Platner, he has only gotten more popular, okay, since the controversies, since the tattoo, since all of it. That's a real thing. And then, down in Texas, where Ken Paxton was going up against John Cornyn, all of the dirt is out there on Ken Paxton. And I was looking at some favorability and unfavorability numbers for the two of them, Paxton and Cornyn. And voters are just as favorable toward Paxton as they are to Cornyn. They are not the same. But voters don't seem to care about the scandals.
Well, I would be very clear. They are not the same. Ken Paxton was acquitted at his trial in the Senate of the crimes he was accused of.
But
Now,
his wife has accused him
Democrats
his wife has accused him of things that has led her to seek a divorce on biblical grounds. So,
and I am sure we're going to hear. I'm sure we're going to hear
it's not
all
just
about it.
There's a
over the
lot
next...
of corruption, but there's a lot of personal issues too with him.
But just to be clear, on the corruption stuff that he was impeached by the Texas House, he was acquitted by the Texas Senate. So I think we should be clear about that. That is not the same as someone who has exhibited a pattern over 20 years. I mean, it's not just the Nazi
There's
tattoo.
a pattern of prosecuting.
It's not just the Nazi. It's the belief that women are
accused by
responsible for their own rape.
people-
I mean,
8 people in his
that's
own
appalling and
administration
absurd.
taking
To have
bribes,
someone believe that
brought
women
up
are
on
somehow responsible for being raped, to have people who obviously, sexually message their women while they're married, like these are all bad things, and they just keep getting worse with Graham Platner. And I think Democrats, as you've seen a couple of them, make pretty strong statements against him.
So wait.
I think they're realizing that the wheels are coming off
So,
the
Joe,
bus
are
over there.
affairs disqualifying? This one. Marital affairs
To be clear, I think the Nazi tattoo is disqualifying. I think the idea that women are responsible for their own rapes is completely disqualifying, and he should be punched in the face. To be frank with you, I mean that's an appalling thing to say. I think that's different from someone who's accused of bribery and was acquitted. I think that's someone who has issues with his wife that we're going to all hear. We are going to hear all about Ken Paxton's divorce as the trial, I believe, even starts while he's campaigning.
In a couple
It's going to be
but this
season on that.
latest Graham Platner scandal is over sexting with staffers. Let me just read. I have to read this statement because this is from his wife. His wife told CNN and reporters, I confided deeply personal details about my marriage to someone who I considered a friend. In the months since, I've had to watch as she spreads malicious gossip to anyone who would take her call. I trusted this person with the most private chapter of our lives, early days of our marriage, before any campaign was on our mind, and I'm deeply hurt by her betrayal and invasion of our privacy. I know who Graham is. I know the man that I married and the husband that he has been to me on the best and worst days of my life. That hasn't changed, and it won't. That is what his wife says. But the piece of this is that it's adding to many things. Yeah. But our voters sort of just don't care about, I mean, and maybe I should go further back because, Donald Trump has cheated allegedly on his spouses before. He's been divorced several times. There was also Bill Clinton, Are we done with this stuff? Do personal mistakes not matter in politics anymore?
Sadly, I mean, I'm nostalgic for a time when Bush getting a DUI or Obama smoking weed was shocking and led the news for a couple weeks. And sadly, I think we're at a point in American politics where it isn't disqualifying. And it's funny, I was kind of surprised to see the reaction from folks like Cory Booker now sort of raising questions about support for Graham Platner in light of these affairs, because frankly, adultery and infidelity now seems so ubiquitous in American politics. So to me, that wasn't even the most shocking thing. I think Democrats, though, now are trying to backpedal a little bit because they realize it's this constant drip, drip, drip. It wasn't just the Totenkopf tattoo. It wasn't just the basically making fun of veterans for getting shot at. It wasn't the sexual acts in porta potty. It's continuing to drip, drip, drip. And so I think they're kind of aware that maybe they've made this Faustian bargain. And bear in mind, I think for so long they tried to say, oh, we have the moral high ground because Donald Trump. That was their argument for everything. And so now they've somehow embraced somebody with a Nazi tattoo. I mean, it's kind of beyond the pale. Yeah. And I would also note, too, but this is all in the name of getting out Susan Collins, who is the most moderate Republican in the Senate. It's a really tough situation for them to say, oh yeah, elect this guy with the Nazi tattoo to beat out Susan Collins.
Right. These personal and
moderate.
professional failings by both of these bad men are not disqualifying, but they might lose them the elections. It might be enough, because not everyone cares that they're allegedly corrupt and allegedly taking bribe. It is a pattern with Paxton, by the way. A lot of different accusations, but some people do. And that could be the difference in these tight races. And they didn't have to choose these people who have these problematic records. And I'll just say one last thing. As someone, maybe who's the only tattooed person on the panel, that you know what your tattoo is, okay?
Yeah.
No, I have 2 tattoos. I know exactly what they mean, okay, because they're tattooed on my body. And if I got drunk and got something tattooed, I wouldn't keep it for 15 years without checking it out. You know, you could Google it now. You do a Google image. 15 years, 17 years later, I don't buy it. I think people know what their tattoos are.
Now
I'm here to tell you.
Now I want to know what your tattoos are.
Look at the sheer panic in that studio. When Abby Phillip asked if extramarital affairs are disqualifying, you can literally watch the gears grinding in Joel Bareilles' head. He had to freeze. Why? Because he knows if he answers honestly and says yes, he disqualifies Donald Trump and destroys his own party's entire platform. That is textbook selective outrage. It was frustrating to watch, because Abby should have pinned him to the wall right there instead of letting him skate by. This man literally stood on national television trying to downplay Ken Paxton. Let's be clear, Ken Paxton wasn't targeted by the media or the Democrats. He was impeached by a Republican supermajority in Texas after they looked at documented evidence of bribery, abuse of office, and using donor money to cover up his own affairs. Yet, somehow, the rules completely change when it's a Democrat like Graham Platner. Now, if Platner knew the history of that tattoo, that should absolutely be a disqualifying line in the sand. But the irony here is rich. Republicans set this exact floor for American political standards, and now they are shocked that anyone else is playing by their rules. They built this reality, but they can't stand looking in the mirror. I'm keeping the top comment pinned below. What are your thoughts on this double standard? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.